too. So it's not all a cost. There's a major savings there to have a deputy online and working in this county, because that will certainly not save all the overtime, but it's going to drive the overtime cost way down.
Honorable Sheriff.
Thank you. I think we're talking two different sets of numbers here, and I don't know if we're going to be able to slay the dragon today. This financial situation has created a dragon, and nobody knows where it's going to go. The two sets of numbers, I don't know if we can absolutely say with a shadow of a doubt what they are. We know what the numbers are that came through that were supplied to us for the net county cost, and we know what the numbers are that the sheriff's office says will be needed to operate the sheriff's office at a staffing level that we have now and that we've had for the last 35 years. And we would be preparing for dinner and breakfast and lunch tomorrow, I think, if we went through the line item of where those numbers differ. So the two numbers that I'm concerned about is one that the CEO's office has given us. And the CEO, I want to let you know, you hired the right CEO. You hired a man who believes in making sure government works within its means and does everything possible to improve the overall quality of each of our citizens' lives. And so I'm very comfortable with working with Tom. But the other set of numbers is the numbers that were supplied to us through the Munis system, through the computer system of salary projections. And that number is off. And so if your commitment, Supervisor Pinches, is to fund the sheriff's office at a level that the county is accustomed to the sheriff's office being funded, of no excess salaries, of just minimum staffing, I welcome that. I welcome the funding level that allows us to have 24-hour coverage in the central sector, that allows us to have 16-hour staffing in the north and on the coast, that allows us to have overtime available for going to Covelo or going to the Anderson Valley. But I don't know how we're going to get there from here. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at your faces with these tough decisions that you've had this morning and this afternoon. And I'd rather be on this side of the podium than over there. It's not easy. It's parking lot. I don't know how we're going to get through that parking lot. There's not going to be a Brinks truck pull up in that parking lot and say, here you go. And so the choices that you're going to have to make, honestly, will be dependent on what we think the county needs to have or what we know the county has to have for public safety. Supervisor Colfax, Supervisor Delbar, Chair Wattenberger, Supervisor Pinches, Supervisor Smith, public safety is expensive. It's expensive beyond our means. Public safety means that when tourists come to our county, they know they're going to be safe. It means when citizens go to bed, they know they're going to be safe. And honestly, the proposed budget is a little bit short of what's needed for the safety of our tourists, for the safety of our citizenry. And if your commitment, that Supervisor Pinch has said, is merely exactly what it says to support the sheriff's office, thank you. But I don't know what we're going to do in January. I don't know what we're going to do I don't know what you're going to do when I come to you and say, what do we do now? Are we going to send those letters to the deputies? Am I going to stop recruiting for Covelo and Anderson Valley? I don't know. There's several things that we've worked with the CEO's office on. We've revamped the way that we document overtime. I've worked with the CEO's office, and he's committed to having one person represent the CEO's office for a quarterly overtime review committee. I've committed someone, and the Deputy Sheriff's Association last night has committed someone to also be on this overtime review committee, to come to you quarterly and say, this is where it's happening. Because when you see this enormous amount of overtime being spent, you have the right. Ben Brown has the right to tell his readers where that money is being spent. And I want to tell you, So that's something we can do, but that's finding the problem and not coming up with a solution, other than the little bit of salary savings that we're experiencing right now. So what I'm asking you for is this unknown number. I'm asking for you to trust the sheriff's office numbers that we're saying it's going to cost this much money to run the sheriff's office. And when that money runs out, if that money runs out, and I'm not going to spend it foolishly, I'm asking for you to make a commitment today to say, we will give an augmentation to the sheriff's office. We're not expecting a dump truck of money from Sacramento, because they're not expecting one from Washington, D.C. But law enforcement, public safety, and fire is the very basic reason that we have public safety, that we have a government. And honestly, I'm not exactly sure how far we're going to be able to keep that government public safety going with what's being provided. But I'm not saying that in any critical manner to the CEO or his staff. I'm saying that in a manner that if there's unknowns, we have to address those. The contingency fund that we did last year, it got us through this year, and it allowed the county to use that money in the contingency fund to improve its credit rating.